Everyone, this is Lisa Espinosa. I am the author of the new book, Answering Your Inner Calling. And as you know, in a few weeks, I will be starting my new 10-week online course. And you can read more about it on my website or email me directly. And leading up to this online program, I've been sharing some teachings from my book, just a couple of little tidbits of guidance of the exercises and practices that are in my book. And today I'm excited to talk about practice number 2. And the second practice, and if you recall, the first practice was the commitment practice, right? When you say yes to your soul, you decide that you are committed and it's an ongoing and consistent thing, something you do every day, not just once a week, not just when things are feeling good or when things are feeling really bad. The second practice, naming and embracing your fears, is all about working with those parts of us that sabotage our journey. And we all have them. It's nothing to be ashamed of. It's part of the human experience. So this practice gives us tools to help these parts of us that get stuck, that get scared, to help them evolve and transform, and mostly to love them, because that is what they need the most. So if you recall, if you have my book or you've heard me speak, you know that part of this journey, one place that it started was I was a teacher, right? I was a 7th grade teacher, and I was in my classroom and I heard this message from my soul telling me that it was time for me to leave the classroom. And I say in my book that that was like a big aha moment, right? Like I realized, oh my gosh, that's why I've been feeling so restless, why I've been feeling just, not content, is because I'm ready for something new. But as exciting as that was, it also triggered a lot of my parts, right? My fears. I felt afraid because I didn't know how I was going to make money. I felt guilty because I felt teaching was such a noble profession. How could I leave it? I felt embarrassed because if I did leave and people asked me, well, why are you leaving? What are you going to do next? I didn't have an answer. I had these vague ideas. And I was afraid I would be judged because it involved kind of like a lot of new age stuff or things that I thought people would kind of roll their eyes at. So, I had all these fears and I had to really work through those fears. I couldn't ignore them. I couldn't dismiss them. They would have literally paralyzed me. So this practice, naming and embracing your fears, is based on the internal family systems model of psychotherapy, IFS for short, which was developed by Dr. Richard Schwartz. And, I based my practice on that model. And the premise of that model is that we all have a beautiful soul. They call it a self. I refer to it as a soul. We have our soul that is whole, that is healthy, that is compassionate and curious and creative, all of these amazing things. And we also are made up of different parts. And these different parts of us, they're wonderful. They're parts that are creative, that are our parts that are organized, they are our parts that keep us on task. But these parts also throughout our life, they pick up burdens and wounds. And because of those burdens, these parts forget or don't remember how to trust our soul. They often think they are alone. They have these kind of outdated beliefs and burdens. So on this path of following your soul's guidance to the next evolution of your life's work, you absolutely will have to work with these parts of you. And, in today's video, I just want to share with you some background about the parts, just some important information. And again, this is just giving you a little taste of it. But so number 1 about the parts is we can't get rid of them. They are with us for life. And so the sooner we learn to love them, to relate to them, to come into relationship with them, the easier our journey will go. And the faster our journey will go. Faster in the sense that we won't be derailed, we won't sabotage our journey. There will be a flow and a sense of peace that is truly joyful. The second thing about your parts is that they all live in your body. The body is the entryway. They communicate through our body. So when we do what I call parts work, it's really all about tapping into your body. So for example, if you're committed to your soul and your soul guides you to take a step forward, It might say, start blogging, or it might say, go attend that workshop, all of this guidance that we get. But then you start to feel anxious, or you start to, you notice that you're starting to sabotage that guidance. For some reason, you're not following it. And, I have clients that sometimes come to see me, and they've been receiving guidance for years. Years they've been receiving that they should start writing, or that they should take a training, or that they need to change their job in some way. But they haven't been able to follow the guidance, and it's not because they're bad people, it's just because the parts get triggered. So when I say that your parts live in your body, what you can do is look at the trigger. For instance, let's just say that your part is telling you to go to a yoga class. That's one thing my part told me, right? But you're just you've never been to a yoga class, you're kind of nervous about it, but you don't want to get derailed. So you check in your body, where do you feel the anxiety? And you notice, oh, I feel it all in my stomach. So that is where that part lives. And part of this practice is then teaching you, well, now what? Now that you realize, okay, yeah, my anxiety lives in my stomach. How can I help that anxiety? What can I do? So that's the second thing, right? That your parts live in your body. The third really important thing is that your parts all have noble intentions. And this is honestly one of the most radical, revolutionary aspects of this practice, is that every part of us, even those parts that cause us pain, that judge us, that we might think are lazy, or whatever judgment we have about the parts, they all have a noble intention. And it's hard to believe, it's hard to, I used to be skeptical. I mean, to be honest, when I heard that all of our parts have a noble intention, something inside of me totally recognized the truth of that. I felt it. I felt like, oh my gosh, yeah, I know that. But then my logical brain didn't get it. I didn't understand, well, how come my part that criticizes me all the time, how could that have a noble intention? So, through this practice of developing a relationship with my parts, I came to learn that, oh my gosh, yeah, all of my parts do have a noble intention. And when I remember that, it makes it so much easier to connect with these parts. So that is kind of like, another important point about the parts. And, I want to tell you in these exercises, and tomorrow I'll share 1 or 2 exercises from this practice. The whole point of this practice is to befriend these parts of you. It's not about fixing them. It's not about analyzing them. And in fact, if you pay attention to the name of the practice, right? Naming and embracing your parts. Most people have a really easy time with the naming aspect. And what I mean by naming is just by identifying. I have anxiety. I have a part that feels guilty. I have a part that's embarrassed. I have a part that's scared. That's the naming process. But that's not going to really lead you to healing. It's an important step. What really leads to transformation is the embracing aspect. Can you learn to embrace all of these parts? Particularly the parts that you might not like. That's where the transformation happens, and your soul can totally help you with this. I mean, not only can, your soul is the one that will help this to happen. So, I'm going to leave you with that. I can really talk about parts for hours, so I will stop here. But I want to end as we always end. Let's bring our hands over to our heart center. And, this is the entryway to your soul. And remember, your soul is unconditionally loving. It's unconditionally compassionate. It's unconditionally wise. And it knows all of your parts. It knows your parts. It loves your parts. So what we're going to do right now is, close your eyes. Breathe into your heart. Invite your soul to be here. Of course, we know your soul is always with you, but you're opening up to your soul's unconditional love. And now you're going to let your soul love all of your parts. Love all of your parts. Send them all love. Even those, maybe especially those that you might think you don't like. So just let yourself receive that love. Let your parts receive that love. And if you sense there are any parts that feel unworthy of receiving this love, that's okay. Just notice that they don't need to feel worthy to receive the love. The love is always there for them. And, just remind them of that. So now let's bring our hands to prayer pose and we bow to each other's heart and our own heart. And we end with a namaste. So thank you, everyone. And, I want to remind you, if you are feeling a calling, if you're feeling a calling, your soul is guiding you to the next phase of your life's work, but you're scared, right? The parts, that's what happens. Our parts get triggered, our parts get scared, our parts can sabotage us. And, you might be called to join this 10-week program. And I invite you to really check inside and see if your soul is guiding you to that. And it's okay if parts are scared and nervous. That's perfectly normal. And in fact, it is a sign that you are taking the right step if you're a little bit scared, or maybe a little bit scared, and that's okay. And, feel free, please look at my website, read the details of the class. Feel free to email me, and I'd, be more than happy to answer your questions or even have a phone conversation if you're considering it, but you have some concerns. All right, thank you so much, everyone. Have a lovely day, and I'm sending all of you and all of your parts so much love and so much respect and so much gratitude. Blessings, everyone. Bye.